Well, good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. The time is 1:42 here in the afternoon Eastern Time, 12:42 Central Time. It is Sunday, February the 16th, 2014, and here is your long-range update. Done a lot of quick updates with the snowstorms and things that we've had the past few days. Haven't had a chance to dive into the longer range and want to sort of cover that because we have a lot that we could cover for this. All right. Today's long range video update being sponsored by High Voltage Mobile DJ Services, and you can give Nathan a call, 630-9465 on his cell phone there. Visit him on the web at djhighvoltage.com and tell him Southern Indiana Weather sent you. They do a great job. So if you got a wedding coming up or just a party in general, family reunion, any number of things you need a DJ, give Nathan a call. All right. Not bad here. We've warmed up to the mid-30s over a good portion of the area. Still some upper 20s up here, but sun mixed with some clouds today, and hey, that's not bad. We'll take it compared to what we've had. All right. We just take this off and we'll take this off. I want to talk about a developing situation that we've got going on because we've got a mess coming on our hands. First of all, we've got a little bit of rain to deal with tomorrow, but then we have potentially a major winter storm, a major severe storm. I'm so used to saying winter storms from all this nasty snow that we have had. It feels kind of weird to say that we could be looking at potentially some severe weather later this week. It really does. Now, it doesn't look like anything impressive right now. The storm that's going to give us the severe weather the next week is all the way up here just off the Aleutian Islands here over the Alaska coast, and that'll move our direction, and we'll talk about that here in a second. We've got a little bit of rain to deal with first. Let's go through that. Let's take a look at future radar for tomorrow and sort of get this out of the way first. I'm looking for a pretty decent rain tomorrow, but nothing that's going to be too major here. We're not talking about thunderstorms or anything like that, just some rain. You can see that the 4-kilometer NAM, our high-resolution NAM, actually starts us out with sort of a wintry mix as it begins here in the area. And by the way, it begins here in the area around noon. I'm not sold on that idea. I think the solution is just a little bit too cold. I'm actually forecasting temperatures to be into the low 40s here across southwest Indiana and maybe upper 30s as you get a little bit more towards the north. So I don't think that's going to be, I think it's got a little bit of a cold bias coming in as it's had in the past few days. But as you can see, then it very quickly warms us up and moves us to all rain anyway, and some heavy rain at that as it moves through. And then, by the time 5, 6 o'clock at night comes, it's all out of the picture. So we'll see how that works out. The GFS, just to give you an idea, is also having sort of that cold bias. They've trended a lot colder over this morning's runs over what they had, and I'm not sure that I'm buying it yet. I know we still have a lot of snow on the ground, but we've got a good southwest wind that should warm us up enough to change this over to all rain. You can see it actually starts out with some freezing rain, potentially moving here into Indiana around the 1 o'clock hour, and then, but it very quickly moves all rain over us here in southern Indiana and keeps that ice and snow mess up towards the north. So I'm not sold on any bit of wintry mix moving down into our area yet. We'll keep an eye on that and update that tomorrow as needed. If the afternoon models trend that way, then we'll see. But as of right now, I'm not buying that solution. It seems to me like we're just going to hit the low 40s tomorrow with rain here in the southwest portion of the state. That's what my gut tells me. Temperatures will be critical. As I said, the GFS wants to keep us a little bit too low. It only warms us up just barely over freezing tomorrow, and I'm not buying that one bit. I agree with what the Canadian is doing on its temperatures, and the Canadian actually pushes a surge of 40s up into us. And this is what the GFS and some others had been saying until recently. The Canadian is still holding its own. The Euro is still holding its own with this way too. So I think we're going to hit at least the 40-degree mark over much of southwest Indiana, and then again upper 30s by the time you get closer towards the more north Mitchell, Bedford, Bloomington area, Terre Haute, places over towards that. And really the threat for any wintry mix is probably going to be up here towards the Terre Haute area and then north, and then more snow as you trend towards the north. All right, so that's sort of the setup that's going on. Beyond that, then we got some sunshine for a couple of days, and then Thursday we get into what could be a potential of a little bit of a wintry mess. If I just throw this on here, I'll show you that the Storm Prediction Center has already placed us underneath of a slight risk for severe weather on Thursday, and really it encompasses most of our counties here in southern Indiana, goes all the way north of just to the south of the Terre Haute area, covers just north of the Bloomington area over through Columbus and points down. Now, what's significant about this is the Storm Prediction Center only issues the slight risk for severe weather when it's this far out if they believe there's a 30% risk or greater. Now, that is a high-end slight risk, so that's something to take note of. It's also something to take note of because, well, frankly, we haven't seen a slight risk for severe weather around here since it was in December, and I don't remember the exact date. Forgive me, I should have looked it up, but it was just 3 or 4 days before Christmas. You remember we had a few severe storms roll through. Merry Christmas to us is what I said at the time, I believe. So, it's been a couple months at least since we've had some severe weather roll through here. So, might take some of us off by guard, but, our average high temperature this time of the year is 47, and we're going to be warming up into the 60s. And, you pay a price whenever you warm that far up consistently over time here. So something that we'll have to keep an eye on. Let's go ahead and take a look at the data. Here we are. We're starting off at 11 a.m. on Thursday, and you can see this low pressure developing as it moves in. And as I said, if I just go back here, I can kind of illustrate for you where it's at. Right now, it doesn't look very impressive. See this little bump in the line right here? We call that a short wave. And that's basically just the beginnings of a low pressure system. It's actually going to rotate around this way and then hook up with a jet stream and take a nosedive south. Once it reaches about here, and right here will be about the Wednesday mark before it gets here, it's actually going to break off sort of a piece of its energy and spawn a surface low pressure here. That will then dive its way like this and then just be chunked north over the jet stream kind of in this fashion, and will hook up with a cold front and drag the cold front with it. So again, that's a very complicated setup, I understand. Lots of things have to go right for this to really go the way it's supposed to for us to get severe weather. But as I said, right now, the reason I say this is because the storm system is well out of our upper air network, so we can't sample it yet. Really, it's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday before we're able to sample this thing, and yeah, we're expecting severe weather on Thursday. So it's probably going to be closer towards Tuesday before we can dial in on more specifics for, I believe, what we can expect on severe weather. So keep that in mind as far as definites, but we'll keep you updated daily. Here's what the models do say now, though. By the time you come into the afternoon hours, late evening hours, here we are by 7 p.m. and the cold front is knocking on our door. This looks like a squall line type of setup to me. I'm not worried about supercells out ahead of the line at this point. Now that could change. We'll see what the models do later this week, but it looks more of a linear type of fashion for us right now. And of course that would lend itself, if it does stay in that linear segment, what we call a QLCS, a quasi-linear convective system. If it stays in that, then you probably know it as a squall line. That squall line is going to bring more of a damaging wind threat than it will of a tornado threat to us. Tornadoes can never be ruled out in this type of a setup, but right now that looks like the lowest of the threats. Let me take you through the data and just sort of show you where we're at right now. All right. Here what we're looking at is the low-level jet, and I know it's kind of complicated to see, but here's Indiana right here. And you don't have to understand all these parameters. I want to walk through some of these. For those of you that do, this will be helpful. For those of you that don't, I'll walk through it with you and make it simple to understand. Basically what you're looking at, winds are winds up in the atmosphere about 4,000 to 5,000 feet. And they're whipping. They're going about 60 knots. So that's about 65 to 70 miles per hour when you do the translation. Now that's a very fast-moving clouds. If you want to identify the low-level jet, have you ever just looked up at the clouds and you see the clouds? Man, they're just moving fast. They're trucking it. Well, that's because of the low-level jet, and that's exactly what we're going to have. Plenty of wind energy. By the way, the thunderheads that go up into the clouds, they tower up into the clouds sometimes 30 and 40,000 feet. So, oh yeah, it's got plenty of wind energy down right at the surface, down just off of the surface to be able to tap into for severe weather. As you go higher up into the atmosphere, we go to the 500 millibar level, and this is winds at about 18,000 feet up. And you can see they're whipping even faster. They're close to 80 knots by the time you get there. You go up to the jet stream level, which is about 30,000 feet up this time of the year, 30 to 35,000, and you're pushing 90, even 100 knots just out to our west, 80 to 90 knots over us. So again, plenty of wind energy as you go throughout this system. Now, you've seen me talk about this before a long time ago because we haven't had severe weather for a while, but there are three things that we look at when we talk about severe weather ingredients. And wind is one of those. We need wind shear. We need strong winds, both in speed and in directions. You want to change in direction as you go up, and that's conducive to rotation in the thunderstorms, and that helps develop into more mature thunderstorms and produce tornadoes. You want instability, and that comes from the form of warmth and moisture. Then you got to have some sort of a forcing mechanism. That can be from a big low pressure system, an upper level disturbance. That can be from a cold front or a warm front. It can be through many things. What I want to show you is we have plenty of wind energy to work with. In fact, if I just go through and take a look at our 500 surface to 500 millibar crossover product, basically what we're looking at is the change in wind direction as you move up. Here at the surface, we're looking at southerly winds. We're looking at almost westerly winds as you go up. So that basically is going to be very supportive of rotation in these storms. So, excuse me. Does that mean that we're going to be looking at a tornado threat? Well, the potential is there. It can't be ruled out. It's lower because we believe that we're looking at more of a squall line type of fashion. But we'll have to watch it because certainly the parameters are there. And if we take a look at our bulk shear product, what we're looking at is just the difference in wind speeds as you move up through the atmosphere. And we've got a 60, 70 knot difference in wind speeds from the surface by the time you go up to 18,000 feet. That is certainly enough to cause rotation in these thunderstorms as well. So for that reason, we want to keep a close watch on this system. This one definitely has potential, all right. So we got plenty of the wind energy. Well, we've got a strong cold front moving in, and you'll see that when I show you the temperatures here in a second. What about instability? Well, we got plenty of warmth and moisture coming through. Limited instability, but you're talking maybe 250 units, and this time of the year, you don't need much instability. If you want to get a severe thunderstorm in the middle of summer, you're going to need to be talking 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 units of instability. But here in the dead of winter, you need 100 to 500 units is all you need to get some storms firing. So point being, we have plenty of the parameters that we need in place to be able to fire these severe storms. So that's given the SPC confidence enough to go ahead and issue that slight risk. And I completely agree with them. I think this is something that we want to keep an eye on. Temperature-wise, by the way, the GFS, by the time Thursday afternoon comes, warms us up to near 60. If you believe, I got to find the right one here. Hold on just a second, folks. I don't know if I pulled this up or not, but some of the other, suffice it to say, if you were to take a look at the Canadian and some of the others, they even warm us up, pump us up a little bit warmer, even into the 60s. I think I must have X'd out of that tab, and I apologize for that. But okay, it's there. So just trust me. And the place, the warmth is going to be there without a problem. And then take a look at the sharp cutoff behind this. There's a cold front, by the way. You got upper 50s and 60s ahead of the cold front, down into the 40s and 30s behind it. So it's a very sharp cutoff. That's certainly enough of a forcing mechanism. Point being, all signs are pointing to a severe weather event. And just really quickly, if you switched over to the Euro model, the Euro is saying this exact thing it's saying as well. It's a little harder to see on this map, but here you go with that strong surface, low pressure, and then very quickly as you move into the hours, the cold front ejects, the low pressure moves this way, and you got heavy, heavy, heavy rain moving through us. And, if we were to take a look at our shear products as well, we won't go through all these, but I just want you to show you that, even the bulk shear products are actually even more impressive on the Euro. We're talking on the order of 80, 90, even 100 knots of bulk shear as you move through this, so and going through. So this is ridiculously impressive. Temperature wise, if we just look at the GFS raw data, we're looking at 60 here in Evansville on Thursday. You go to Huntingburg, 60. If you go to Bloomington, 57. 55 all the way up in Indianapolis, 57 in Terre Haute. So again, plenty of warmth expending far north into southern Indiana, and that's going to cause us to do sort of a double take for sure. All right, go to southernindianaweather.com, folks. You can get the 7-day forecast. Forecasting 35 today under partly cloudy skies. Excuse me. Going down to 25 tonight. Get that rain tomorrow. Again, that rain-snow mix potentially north of somewhere between Bloomington and Indianapolis and points northward, going to be more under that threat. Those of us here in southern Indiana, I'm really just not worried about that threat. I think that we're going to warm up to just be an all-rain scenario, okay? We'll monitor that in the morning and see if that changed, but that's my gut feeling at this point. Sunny on Tuesday, nice, almost 50 degrees. Then the 50s do return with a little bit of rain potentially on Wednesday, but on Thursday is your biggest chance, and we are watching for the potential of severe weather. Again, that slight risk has already been issued. And then we even stay the 50s through the weekend, so that's pretty nice. Slight chance of thunderstorms on Saturday. I was watching that one a few days ago for the potential for severe weather. That one's threat has kind of lessened just a little bit. We'll monitor that and see whether that continues back up or not. But still, enjoy the warm-up while you can, folks, because, we've got one cool day today, and then the warming trend comes, and boy, it's going to be nice. Now, the question I always get asked, and I want to end on this, is will it last? Will this last? And unfortunately, it does not look like it will. Let me just show you later on in the month. This is for the 27th of February, and the GFS that Thursday is showing a pretty significant winter storm moving into our area. Again, the first blue line being the rain-snow changeover line. So anything north of that rain snow changeover line should be snow. And look at the high snow totals over our area. So something to keep an eye on. Now, the chances of it verifying exactly this way this far out are slim to none, but it gives you the idea that Old Man Winter is not done with us yet. Don't sell off it being an early spring yet, because I don't think it's happening. Just enjoy the warm-up while you can. All right, folks, that's it for today's video. I'll see you guys tomorrow.